wonderful people in it.
And by Chuck of MyHousePartners.com, providing comprehensive real estate services. My House Partners, committed locally, thinking globally.
This is HCAM TV.
Janine.
Hey, Don.
Janine, thank you.
Hi, Anna. Hi, Don.
Hello.
Through the chair, you're live on HCAM TV.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Okay, we have a quorum. We'll call the meeting to order. And let me read the remote meeting executive order preamble before we get started. This is the March 9th, 2021 open meeting of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission, which is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we are complying with the executive order that suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening by Zoom as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting is also being broadcast live and recorded by HCAM. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast by voice or video may be captured by the recording. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. After commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda, the chair will then open the discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment session. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted on a roll call vote of the commission members. And I'd like to confirm the members of the commission that are present and can hear me at this point. Melissa Ricos.
I'm here.
Jim Cirillo.
Here.
Janine LeBlanc. Janine is actually coming in now. Hold on. Sorry, I thought I already admitted her. Janine, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I didn't have audio before, so I disconnected and came back in.
Okay, so we have Janine, so that's a quorum of the commission. And let me just confirm that the staff members are here. Don McAdam.
Here.
Anna Rogers.
Present.
And the town's consultant, Matt Vero with Lucas Environmental.
Here.
Okay, great. And just pardon me for a second while I make sure that everyone who is waiting has joined. Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. So we'll start with the work session items, Don. And we have an Eagle Scout, Alex Kimball, who is on the Zoom call with us. Alex, can you hear me?
Yep, I can.
Good evening. So you're an Eagle Scout candidate, is that correct?
Yep.
All right, so we'll start with you, Alex, so you don't have to hang out on the Concom. You're more than welcome to after you're done, but you want to kind of give us an overview of your project and what you plan to do?
Yep, I have a presentation I can show.
Okay, yeah, why don't you, I think we have the screen share, so if you, Don, do you have it already, or?
Yeah, are you able to see this?
Yep, okay.
I have a different one. That's
Okay.
a bit better looking this. I'll share it. Let's see if it lets me.
Yep, go ahead.
The host will have to let you do that.
Do
Yeah,
you see this? Or?
You should be able to, Don. Do you have a screen share option on the bottom of your screen there, Al?
It says I'm screen sharing. So, do you see the like 17 Joseph Road and like a presentation format, or
I don't.
Hold on.
you don't?
Okay, we got it.
Let's see. You do? Okay, yeah, screen share. Let's see if I can get that on there. Perfect. Yeah, so this is the Hughes Trail. There's going to be 4 areas that we're working on. So the first area, we're just shifting the trail a little bit over to the right to avoid some things. Area 2, there's going to be 2 18.5 like puncheons and then 1 12-foot. Oh, no, never mind. 1 18.5 and 2 12-foots. I'm sorry. Then there's going to be 1 bridge for area 3, like that third queue, which is 15-foot, and then the second bridge, which is the replacement bridge, and that's 10 feet long. So let's see if it lets me. Oh, okay, perfect. So this is the first area where we're changing the path. This is going to be the new path. Off to the right, you can already kind of like see it. To the left of the first yellow line, like that clutter, that's where the original trail is. This new one is just going to be in essentially those 2 yellow lines. People are already walking through there. There's already some sticks kind of lined, so it's not actually changing the, I would say, general pedestrian path. It's just making that a bit more like essentially permanent. This is the second area where we're going to be putting in the puncheons and walkways, and like as you can see, the trail has logs placed on it, making it very uneven, hard to walk on. The trail is also very like muddy, especially during like a wet season, also making it more difficult to use. There's going to be some rocks and roots that also need to be removed on the trail, and then going in there will be puncheons and walkways. That's like one thing. There's a drawing later. So there's going to be 3, as I stated earlier. One's 18.5 feet and the other 2 are 12 feet. The image thing, right? So that's like your specific sizes.
The one,
for it.
so Alex,
Yeah.
just to clarify, one's 18 feet long,
18.5, yeah.
18
And then
and a
there's gonna be-
half, and then you have 2 that are 12.
yeah,
feet
so
long?
there's 3 in total. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right, thank you.
It will be bike accessible. It'll be made out of ground and pressure treated lumber. Same thing with the bridges. And it's only going to like positively impact the trail. Like as you saw earlier, the trail is like very messy, to say the least. I think I can look for it. Well, whatever. This is where we need to put the new bridge, or I need to put the new bridge. Obviously, there's like logs. Logs aren't stable, like a waterway. So it's dangerous to people, obviously, who are just like stepping on the log. They can fall, slip, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, a bridge does need to go in there. This bridge is going to be 15 feet. So it's going to look like that. And then there's your sizing. This is essentially, it's the same design, but the overall like length will be just changed for 15 or 10 foot. And then going back to this one, this is the 10-foot bridge. This needs to be replaced. I quite clearly. There's gaps in it, holes, old. So we're going to remove that, and then we'll put in a new bridge, which will be 10 foot. Same thing, using ground and pressure treated lumber. They are going to be made on sills, 5-foot sills that will be dug in for support. It's not on the drawing here. But then those are your sizes. And in other notes, I'll stay in contact with like the neighborhood. I mean, I'm already in contact with them. We've done like a session with them, TCMC and Concom through Mr. Lagoy, and directly contacting any of you. if you want updates. And then obviously it really only improves on this trail. There's nothing here that's going to be, I would say, changing it to leave a negative impact on the environment and onto the people using the trail. It's only taking areas that need improvement and then improving them. So,
Okay,
and yeah, so,
all right, that
question.
looks good. Can you go back to the Puncheon slide that shows yeah,
this one.
would it be possible, Alex, to have like a ramp rather than
Yeah.
having kind of a step up,
Yeah.
have a ramp at both ends so that, if there's older folks or, mountain bikers that want to be able to get onto the bridge
Yeah.
rather than skirting around it, they can do that. It'll make it a little bit easier.
Yep, we will make it with the ramp. This drawing was done before our session. We had someone who was a biker and was like, we're going to need a ramp on it. So we decided to put that in later, but the picture wasn't updated. But yeah, there will be a ramp on
And there'll
this.
be a ramp on the bridge as well.
I don't think the images in the bridge looks like it, but like as you can see here, it's more like in the ground and it's just like straight across. And that's what I'm hoping for both of them. Though if they do become like elevated, then
Okay.
we will put a ramp, but it should just be straight across.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, looks like a great project. I don't have any further questions. Let me open it up to the other commission members for their comments and questions.
So Jim has a couple questions. Are you going to take, are you going to leave these? What do we want them to do? Want them to leave these timbers in there or take them out? I think we should leave them. No?
Like
Yeah,
the
take those out. That's on the bank and stuff. Unless you're going to replace them when you take those out, are you going to just put this new bridge at grade? Where you
no,
take those out?
I'm planning to completely remove all of those things. Like those, the image isn't the best looking at it, but you can already see
Oh,
some.
I've been there. Yeah, I've been there a million times. I know
Yeah.
what it is.
Oh yeah, it
So if you take those out, now you're going to
yeah. I
run
was
the
planning to
bridge
completely get rid of them.
and run the bridge from before there to after there, right? At grade, and then Jeff's talking about a ramp. You're not going to try to put the bridge deck, if you will, at the same bottom elevation of these timbers, right?
No,
Okay.
yeah. Well, we'll have a ramp on it. With
Okay.
the thing, but
So,
yeah,
but-
that's being completely removed.
All right, but in any
And
event,
we'll build
Jeff,
it up.
everybody, you think we should remove those?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should remove the logs, but what do you guys, the rest of us think about removing these? Is that okay with everybody? Jeff?
Yeah, I hear you, Jim. Hold on a second.
Okay.
I mean, what are they, logs or what are they?
No, they're like old railroad timbers. They're old railroad timbers. The other one that he showed was just logs people threw in the wet so they could walk across it, right? I forget which one that was called, Area 1, I think. Go to Area 1, Don, because not that, the photograph?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, okay. So that sort of represents a couple of areas, 1 and 2. So it's like that. So Don, can you go to the one before this, the one after this, I guess?
Alex is sharing the screen at the moment.
Go back to that footbridge now. Okay, wait. Well, go back to that one now. All right, one more where the logs were. Go to the one where the logs were. There, right there. Boop. Well, that one. But then there's another picture. This is just sort of scattered over a wet. You keep
The
flipping
area
by it.
3, Alex.
Area
You know which one?
This
That
one,
one.
yeah.
Right there. Okay, so that stuff is just thrown in there. That's got to get out. Now go to the footbridge.
Jim, that's just logs. I mean, you can
I
take
know
those
that. That's
out
got
and
to come out.
throw
Oh,
them
I
off
know
to
that.
the side.
Right. No, I'm just saying these are timbers. I just wanted to know if everybody was cool with that. Can you go to the footbridge?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, on the center trail, there were, the timbers were removed and kind of, put
Yeah.
off to the side. I don't have a problem with that.
All right.
Um,
Then the next question is how are you going to remove them? With
Where-
skid steer or something and lift them up?
Yeah.
And
No, Alex, a skid steer is a Bobcat. I'm not sure
yeah,
you have
Bob.
any equipment in.
There was like I just want to go back into percent.
you got
We'll definitely just like lift them out.
You guys are
Well-
young. You can lift them out.
We'll get them out.
But
You're
then
you're
the
doing
follow-up
it by
question-
hand, Alex, I guess is the question, right? You're
Yeah,
not putting-
yeah,
having
most likely,
machines
yeah.
Come in and.
No machines.
Then the next question is, what do you do with them after?
I was planning to call Harvey and see if they wanted to pick them up like outside of the thing. If they didn't want to pick them up, next would be to see if we can just like drive them down and get them in. But I was not planning to have them be left on the trail.
Yeah, there may be some of those left over by the shed when you first come onto Hughes. I don't know who's if they're still there. I don't know who's controlling them, but DPW has come out and collected rubbish,
DPW.
stuff like this. So DPW may be willing to come out and pick them up and get rid of them because they did that up on the front of the property. So as an option, maybe you can check with DPW, see if they're willing to. Well, I don't know if Mike Bolson's still around, but he knew what to do with them. All right, that's it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments from commission members?
Through the chair,
Yes, Don.
just wanted to let you guys know, you're looking at it as an exemption request. You're wearing your Concom hat regarding wetland, regulations, but you
Yep.
also manage the parcels. So you're looking at it as
Yeah.
land managers for the town as well.
Yep.
Good
I mean,
point.
I don't see anything from my perspective that raises any red flags, Don, from either perspective. I mean, I think it's suited to
There's
an
no-
exemption request. And, it's just, putting the bridges in, over areas that, are a little bit tenuous, for hikers and, mountain bikers. So I think it's a good project for me.
Yeah, it seems to follow suit with a lot of the other, trail projects that we've approved in the past.
Yeah. But Don raises a good question. Maybe is there anything in the restriction that doesn't allow this? Right. So there's a conservation restriction in our control, right? Is there anything that doesn't
No,
allow this?
not on these lots. It's just, through the deed, that. the-
Okay. So there's no
Concom
special. Okay,
just
great.
manages on behalf of the town.
Yeah, great. All right, cool.
Okay, let me open it up to members of the public for comment. Mr. Lagoy, did you have any comments? I saw that you had logged in on the call. No?
Yeah, I just wanted to say Alex did a great job with presenting this. This has sort of been our pilot project on TCMC working with neighbors and abutters. We had probably a dozen people show up at our outdoor meeting to talk about this trail, and by and large, it was very positively received, which is, as you guys may remember, several years ago, we tried to put a stone dust trail through this area, and that was not well received by the neighbors. So just the passage of time, and I think listening to the neighbors and putting in a more pedestrian type trail versus a stone dust trail, all of those things led to this being approved. And it definitely, I think, is already getting substantial use. And this will just make it much more usable. It really is kind of a trip hazard, even trying to run through there. So this is a good job by Alex, and I think it'll be really appreciated by the neighborhood. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lagoy. And, I concur, Alex. I think this is a great project. Look forward to seeing it completed. And, just keep the, Don updated on progress. Yeah, I really like it. So when are you looking to do this? The spring or?
Yeah, hopefully when the snow melts, I want to start it. So probably in a couple weeks, I'll be looking to begin.
Okay. And are you with Troop 1?
Yeah, we'll maybe go through Scouts. Also also the neighbors. There's a few who want to help out there too.
Right,
So
right,
we'll
but,
look at
but
all of them.
are you with Troop One?
Oh yeah, I am with Troop One.
Yeah, okay, good. Who's your scoutmaster now? Just curious.
Mr. Packer.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, sounds good, Alex. Thank you.
Through the chair, just a question of clarification to Mr. Chiarello. This particular slide, area 4, is the preference to have it at grade, or if it cannot be done at grade safely, then a step would, obviously a ramp or a step would be appropriate. But is the preference to be at grade?
Sorry, I know it would be easier at grade, but no, I don't have a preference one way or the other.
Okay.
I was just wondering how much, the sort of embankment there is going to be disturbed, but I don't have a preference one way or the other. As far as I'm concerned, if you make it at grade with no ramp to it, So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think either way, Mr. Kimball, whatever, based on, when you're out in the field, you can make a field decision, what's more appropriate.
Yeah, it is a vast improvement for sure.
No, the intent is to make sure it's sustainable and it lasts for years, many, many, many years. And so sometimes when you make it a grade, it degrades the woods quicker, right? So
Yep, that's a great point. Yep.
No horses.
no horses.
Okay, thank you, folks.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good evening.
Thanks.
Okay. So let's move along to documents for review. We have Claro, this is 0 Hayden Row. We had the order of conditions denial. Okay. So Don, do you have you're bringing it up now?
Sorry about that. Yep, I'm jumping into the file now.
Okay.
Just had to grab the shares.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't viewing Alex's screen anymore.
Yeah, so I was trying to transition out of his and getting into mine.
Okay.
So let's see, work session.
So this was the denial for the Claro single-family home project that we had at our last meeting. Don did the denial right up under the act and the bylaw. Anna, Ed's coming in now as an FYI.
Thank you. Don, I don't know if you need to reshare because we can only see your, we can't see the documents.
Oh, you can't.
No, we just see your, the menu. The document's not,
How about now?
yep, there we go.
All right.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay. So Don, can you please scroll down to the findings of fact?
And do you want me to bring up yours, Jeff, or you want me to just stay on this one that went out earlier?
Yeah, you can bring up the one that I had the suggested change on, Don,
All right.
because it's highlighted in yellow, correct?
Yeah, let me grab that.
So, this was a denial, obviously, at our last meeting. So there's, a likelihood that this will end up getting appealed by the applicant at some point here. So, we just wanted to take a kind of a close look at the findings of fact that Don had put together, which I think he did a great job on, and Rebecca helped him out as well. It was a cooperative effort.
And so did Matt. He chimed in.
And yep, and Matt as well. So the one kind of addition that I had was under the finding of fact, just putting this item 7 in, which basically just states, the commission recommended to the applicant that, you should consider alternatives for reducing the size and scale of the project by reducing the footprint of the proposed structures. So, as opposed to a 4-bedroom, single-family home and a 2-car garage, maybe the applicant should consider something a little bit smaller in area. As you probably recall, the applicant denied the request and just wanted us to vote. So I thought that was an important point to kind of, highlight in the finding of fact. So that was the only change I had, and I just wanted to get, the feedback from the commission members on their review and any comments that you folks might have on this.
Well, Jeff, this is Jim. I will say that is absolutely what happened, and I think that it definitely belongs there. So, thanks for catching that, and putting that in there.
It wasn't a catch. It was just kind of a, just
Or highlighting it, I guess.
yeah,
Pointing it out.
more of a highlight, right? Yeah.
Right.
Melissa, does that
Good
look
said,
okay
Don.
to you?
Yeah, I like the addition that you made, Jeff, and I thought the rest of it looked really good, so
Okay.
no further comment from me.
All right. And I don't think Carrie's on. She didn't join, but any comments from the other commission members?
Nothing for me. I think it's very comprehensive and well done. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Janine. Ed? Believe Ed joined us, maybe not.
Yeah, he was shaking his head. No comment, I don't think.
Okay, I gotta scroll down. We have okay. Okay, all right. All right, Rebecca, did you have any comment or feedback for us on this?
I do not.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, Don, so I think we're good to finalize this.
Okay. We'll get
Yeah.
that revised and electronically signed if you guys are amenable for us issuing it, due course this week.
Yes, that sounds good, Don. We don't have to vote on it, obviously, so that's great. Thank you. Okay, so new applications received. Gamble 60 Lakeshore Drive, a notice of intent. Is that a new home, Don, or is that?
I'm just trying to pick up where I left off. Bringing up that word threw me out of my PDFs. Give me 1 second.
In addition to a existing single family home.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks, Anna. Okay. So draft minutes for January 12th. And we have the executive session minutes for January 12th. Did everyone get a chance to review those? And are there any comments from commission members?
No comments from me. They're good.
None from Jim.
Okay, if I can get a motion to close or approve the minutes of January 12th for the regular session meeting and the executive session,
So moved.
and a second.
I'll second. Melissa.
And we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. And on the executive session, those won't be made public until the legal issue is resolved, just for an FYI. That was, but they have been finalized by the commission. Okay. All right. So we're at 7:30. Let's move on to the agenda items. So Abbott, the 25 parcels on Adams Street, Fitch Ave, and Myrtle Ave, that's a notice of intent. That has been continued out to the next meeting. If anyone here is on the call waiting for that hearing. And our next meeting is March 23rd. So we will not be discussing that project or application tonight.
Jeff, it says on the agenda there that it's continued to April 6th.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the old agenda. Okay, great. Good catch. Thank you, Melissa.
Yep.
So it's continued out to April 6th. Apologies. Okay, Balchandra, 14 West Main Street. This is a notice of intent to replace a cesspool with a septic system. And I just need to read this before we get started. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 9th, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. virtually online to hear all persons interested in a notice of intent filed by Balchandra to replace a failed cesspool with a septic system and associated site work. The location is 14 West Main Street, Assessors Map U18, Block 38, Lot 0. All right, Mr. McIntyre.
Good evening, Dan McIntyre representing the homeowners.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. All right, I see Don's got the plan up on the screen there. So this is a single-family home constructed in the early 1900s, served by a cesspool. It's about 1.7 acres, and the bulk of it is wet. And what's not wet is in the 100-foot buffer zone. The wetlands were delineated about a year ago, as Matt pointed out in his review, based on the weathering of the flags. About that time, the property changed hands and the project stalled. The wetlands were actually delineated under the work of a previous engineer. But when the project picked up again earlier this year, he had some other time commitments and he wasn't able to jump back on it. So we were retained to finish off the septic design. But we didn't want the wetland delineation to go to waste, so we reused that, done by Scott Heim. And I believe he did the delineation next door at number 16 when that septic was replaced a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So what we're proposing is to eliminate the cesspool and put in a new Title V septic system consisting of a septic tank and a pump chamber and a leaching bed. The area is subject to high groundwater, so we're raising the system up, and you can see the contours there that kind of raise the whole yard up to make it more level with where the house is. So we're maintaining a full 4-foot offset to groundwater where the existing cesspool is actually in the groundwater table. And we've kept it, we believe, as far as practical from the wetlands and still work with the existing contours for the grading, maintain the required setback to the house, and avoid any tree removal in the buffer zone.
Okay. And most of the work is in lawn area, Mr. McIntyre?
It is all lawn area, yes.
Okay, even the grading as well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, Matt, did you have any, I read through your comments. It looks like this is kind of, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I had potentially a minor disagreement on the wetland boundary, but I don't know that it's, it's the project kind of is what it is. Doesn't sound like it really be moved all that much. So I don't know if revisions to the wetland boundary would really come to much in the grand scheme of things. So, potentially you could approve the project and not approve the wetland boundary. I really couldn't make a call on it just because there's still quite a bit of snow out there when I was out there. So,
yeah. And
other than that, it's pretty.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Matt, because, to Mr. McIntyre's comment, that most of the work is in existing lawn area. So, irregardless of wetland boundary, it may be off by 10 or 15 feet. But it's pre-existing, a pre-disturbed area, so I think it's something that the commission would have approved anyways. Okay. All right, questions or comments from commission members? Okay, if I can get a motion to close. Was there a comment on the PIB, Matt?
No, not really. Just if the wetland boundary had moved, then theoretically the PIB might need to move with it. That was really the only comment.
Okay. Okay.
All right. I'll make that motion, Jeff, if it's still out there.
Yep. So I think, Matt, would you recommend just putting the boulders in at the edge of the lawn area? I think that would probably make sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the wetland, as it was flagged originally, the wetland does creep up into the lawn a little bit already. Like you see where wetland flag 2 is. That's on a tree, but it kind of between 2 and 3 kind of cuts into the lawn. I think probably where the PIB is sort of would be worst case scenario where the wetland boundary is. So I think where they show it is fine.
Okay. All right.
That's kind of what I was thinking, just kind of a straight line right across there. I think the edge of the wetland probably changes over time anyways, but if we keep, 10, 15 feet off the flags, I think we'll be in good shape.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. All right. So Anna Carey just joined the meeting. So Jim made the motion. Is there a second, please?
Second, Janine.
Janine, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Carrie will abstain since she just joined. Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay, thank you, Mr. McIntyre.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. Okay. All right, let me know when you're ready, Don.
All right, are we going to number 5 on the?
Yeah,
work-
we'll jump into the stormwater bylaw changes so that Rebecca doesn't have to hang
Through
out
the
with
chair?
us longer here. Yes.
Jeff, do you just want to mention that Wood Street was also continued?
Yeah, good point. Thank you, Matt. So Nation 0 Wood Street, the notice of intent continuation for the access roadway has also been continued out until March 23rd. If anyone on the call was waiting to listen to that hearing. Thank you. Okay. So the anticipated changes to the town stormwater bylaw based on the MS4 requirements.
I think Rebecca was going to give us a little overview.
Yep. The
Yes.
floor is yours, Rebecca.
Okay. So this is just a quick preview of, you'll get more detail later, but because this is going to be going before the other boards soon, planning board and the select board, I just wanted to alert you all that it was coming and take any initial questions. So town council has been working with the town's consultants, Ty and Bond, on proposed revisions to the town's stormwater management and erosion control bylaw. Those revisions are necessary to keep the town in compliance with its MS4 permit, which I know some of the members are extremely familiar with this, but for everyone else's information, that is the municipal separate storm sewer system permit. That's a general permit that basically most municipalities in Eastern Massachusetts are subject to. It's jointly administered by EPA and DEP, and it imposes requirements related to the discharges from towns' storm drain systems into surface water bodies. That permit was recently revised to and ended up with heightened conditions. And so as one of the many things that towns need to do in response to those heightened conditions, one of the things they need to do is turn around and increase the conditions that they are imposing through their stormwater regulatory programs. So Hopkinton adopted a stormwater management and erosion control bylaw in 2008 to comply with the original version of this MS4 permit. And so that regulates all construction, new development and redevelopment projects that disturb more than 1 acre of land, imposes requirements on them both during and after, both for their erosion control during construction, and then also regarding their stormwater management system design and operation and maintenance to ensure that after construction, stormwater from the site doesn't have negative impacts to the town's storm drain, flooding, or water quality impacts to surface water bodies. So the permit now requires the town to make the requirements more stringent that are imposed on these folks that are subject to excuse me, to the stormwater management and erosion control bylaw. Many of those heightened requirements can be, and so I should step back and say, it's the planning board that administers, as you guys all, I think, are familiar with, the planning board administers this bylaw and has adopted stormwater regulations. And most of these heightened requirements can be just put into the regulations, which the planning board can just promulgate itself. But there are a few things that need to actually be incorporated into the bylaw itself. They're kind of bigger picture items. And so I'll just kind of briefly give you a preview of what those will be, and then you'll be seeing a draft of the proposed revisions to the bylaw along with a memo kind of providing the information that I'm verbally giving you. And there'll be an opportunity for all of the boards to comment on this, the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, and the Select Board. And then we will work towards revising that into eventually a warrant article and a motion that will go before town meeting in the spring or in a couple months. And so the basic types of revisions that are going to be made in the bylaw, one key thing is some of the exemptions will need to be either revised or removed to ensure that all construction projects disturbing more than 1 acre of land are covered and require these permits. One sort of significant exemption that will need to be removed is an exemption for projects subject to Conservation Commission review. The Wetlands Protection Act stormwater standards are no longer strong enough, no longer stringent enough to meet the requirements of the MS4 permit. So it no longer makes sense to exempt projects that are subject to wetlands permitting. So similarly, some of the other exemptions for projects subject to other types of permits just aren't appropriate anymore, because now all of these projects need to be subject to this more heightened requirements that are going to be imposed via this bylaw. The other changes that will need to be made to the bylaw are a little bit miscellaneous, and so things like incorporating reference to low impact development, incorporating references to the MS4 permit in places that it is relevant to do that, and making sure that the bylaw references the performance standards set by the MS4 permit. And so, as I said, you'll be getting the actual red line proposed revisions to the bylaw as well as a memo. But because this is you'll be sort of probably hearing about this, I just wanted to let you know that it was coming and give you an overview of what's going to be involved. And if anyone has any initial questions about the MS4 permit or about this bylaw, you can feel free to ask them now.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca. So Melissa and Carrie will be eager to dig into that once you send over the comments.
I'm sure they'll have a lot of
share.
questions.
They love stormwater.
I'll
So,
just have them answer the questions.
I guess with 2 months, until town meeting, do you think we'll get this, through the various boards and, comments approved and everything before town meeting? I would hope so, right?
Yeah, I think there's still time. I think this, we're scheduled to go before the planning board. And so, sorry, I should have actually noted that we worked with, in addition to working with Ty and Bond, we also worked with town staff in developing this kind of first round of proposed revisions. So we have already received input from the staff of the departments. So there has been kind of one level of review and input. But in terms of the boards, this will go before the planning board on Monday. And before the select board, I think either the following day or 2 weeks after that. And I can be back before you guys in 2 weeks from today. So the board review should be wrapped up by the end of March. And I think, since the language doesn't have to be fully finalized until, until the motions for town meeting have to be finalized. So we don't want it to be completely last minute, but we don't have to have all of the language completely set by the time that the warrant is posted. The warrant article can just be somewhat generic. So I
Okay.
think there's enough time.
Okay, good. I'd like to see it passed, hopefully within, at this year's town meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have. Are there any questions, comments from other commission members?
I just have a quick question. Has there been any discussion on lowering the threshold below an acre?
So I guess I have a two-part answer. One is the threshold actually already, sorry, thanks for bringing that up because I should have mentioned this is, I've been working on a lot of towns, working on this with a lot of different towns. And so I was forgetting that Hopkinton has different threshold requirements than sort of the standard. In addition to governing projects disturbing more than an acre, Hopkinton's bylaw also provides that projects require this kind of stormwater permit if they disturb land with 15% or greater slope, if the land disturbance is greater than 10,000 square feet within the sloped area, and also any construction activity that will increase the amount of impervious surface to more than 50% of the area of a lot is also subject to this permit. So Hopkinton does already go above and beyond what is actually required by the MS4 permit. In terms of broadening the reach farther, what we're recommending to all of the towns that we're working on this with this year is we recommend that for this go around, everyone's kind of doing this at their spring town meetings. This go around, we recommend just focusing on the changes that are required by the MS4 permit, just so, because those really have to happen. Otherwise the town could be subject to fines and so forth. So we think it makes sense to there's kind of not a lot of room for debate about those items. So we think it makes sense to kind of separate those things, that where the communication that's made is going to be, you guys, have to do this, and then have down the road, have the chance to kind of have the dialogue about, well, do we want to go broader and so forth, where there is more room for debate, and kind of separate out those two discussions. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, that's a good recommendation, because I'd like to see ultimately, especially with the LIDs, some more specificity into, what the town requires for those. But that's a good point, Rebecca. Let's just get kind of the framework, approved this time around, and then maybe we address it again another year or two to, refine it a little bit. Okay.
I'll only
Great.
mention, one of the reasons we have to do this is because DP couldn't update their stormwater handbook quick enough. So they're in the process of that. So I think that the DP handbook will see something come out for public comment in the fall. So we'll have a chance to look at that. Hopefully they include the LID. They're also looking at changing precipitation data to be more cognizant of climate change. So
That'd be good. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments for Rebecca? All right,
One
Rebecca,
plug.
thank you. Oh,
Wait,
sorry.
one
Go
plug.
ahead.
Rebecca, aren't you speaking at the MACC conference?
I am not, nope, I think it's actually gonna be DEP's stormwater coordinator herself is gonna be presenting there.
I thought I saw your name. Okay, forget it. No plug.
As far as I know, I'll have to know.
You might want to check on that. Okay, great. Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay, take care.
All
Good
right,
night.
have a good evening. Okay. All right. So Burton, 178 Ash Street, a 1-year extension permit for the order of conditions, Don.
Yeah, and with the COVID protocols that they came out with last fall, this order actually expired, but it's got that tolling period, so it's still like giving it life. So they have asked for an extension permit, and I can bring up the file. And they gave us a status update on the project. All they've done is cleared some, cut some trees. They didn't do any grubbing or anything. They just didn't notify us that they were going to do the cutting. So
This was the 3 homes, right?
yeah. So this is,
single.
yep. I'm going to bring it up right now. I'm going to grab.
Because they actually did, Don, start constructing one of the houses.
Really?
Yep.
Matt, have you?
Yeah, that one's fine. I gone out and looked at the erosion controls and everything.
All right. Okay. That was the one on that was the one fronting on
Ash.
on Ash, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No. It's,
It's fronting on Route 85, whatever.
Yeah, that's right. The main drag, right? Because this one's around the corner on Ash.
Chestnut Street, I think
Yeah,
it is, isn't
Chestnut.
it?
Yeah, let me bring up the GIS. So,
Chestnut, right. That's like framed and almost closed.
yeah,
in.
so they're probably,
Yeah.
I think we're dealing with
That
with that one's approved. Now we're dealing with this lot back
Okay.
here.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. So the extension is for the lot in the corner there on Ash.
Right.
Got it. Okay. All right. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. If I get a motion to approve the 1-year extension for the order of conditions for 178 Ash.
So moved.
Jim made the motion, and a second, please.
I'll second. Melissa.
That was Melissa. We'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. All right. Okay, Heritage Properties. This is 0 Wilson Street, a 3-year extension permit for the order of conditions.
And I asked for a status update on the project. I did not get a response to that.
All right, so should we table this to the next meeting, Don?
Yeah, you might want to. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, well, I think we should get a status.
Yeah, because normally they tell us, how much of the project has been done, what are they, what's left. And I know we haven't had an erosion control report in a while. So I don't know if anyone's at the meeting in the waiting room, Jeff, that might want to talk about this one. Peter Bemis was the one who sent the request.
I didn't see Mr. Bemis join, but let me just check. Mr. Bemis, are you with us? Or a representative from the applicant? Going once, going twice. Okay.
All right.
All right, let's table it till next meeting, Don, please.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so public forum requests.
Yep. Let me,
And let's jump to the Wolf 26 Lakeshore
Yeah.
Drive.
because he's handy, yeah. Yep.
Mr. DeWolf has been patiently listening to our meeting since the beginning, so Mr. DeWolf? He was on, I guess he dropped off. Eric, you with us still?
Yes, I'm here. Zoom
Oh, okay.
related problems again. Sorry.
All right, no problem. And we know you're new to Zoom, so we
Yeah.
understand. All right.
Sorry about that.
Yep, you want to just give us a quick overview?
Yeah, so there's 4 trees on my property. The one tree, number 1, yeah, right there. That is close to the water, and it's a dying gigantic white pine that's extremely dangerous, and every time we get high winds, it just dumps all kinds of dead branches and stuff like that all over the place. So we're looking to have that removed.
Okay.
And then there's 3 other trees in the front yard that are also dead, dying, damaged. I didn't even actually realize how bad they were until American Climbers came out, and that one, or I'll just do the numbers. Number 2 is completely stone dead. 3 is like rotted all the way in the inside, and 4 has some extremely bad like lightning damage, and that's leaning over the neighbor's house, and that thing's really scary as well.
Okay.
So I was just wondering if it's okay to cut those trees down.
Yep, the 3 on the road edge, I think those are outside our jurisdiction, Don, it looks like.
Looks like number 4 is, you got a buffer zone here.
Okay. Yeah.
So it looks like 2 and 3 would be within the 50 to 100. And number 1 would be inside the 50.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Eric, for number 1, because it's so close to the, the shoreline to the lake there, would you be amenable to, once you remove that, the planting, another tree, kind of keep the soil in place so that you don't get erosion, down into the lake?
Yeah, sure. So I can I was talking to American Climbers, and I can have them stump grind and plant a tree if that's what you guys want. I was thinking more like planting a bunch of blueberry bushes there, one, because they're native, and who doesn't love blueberries? And they really have a great root system that will grow right in, and I wouldn't have to stump grind super deep and destroy those white pine roots that are definitely holding the whole property together. But okay, I will do whatever you guys want.
All right, let me open it up to comments from other commission members. That sounds fine to me.
I'd be fine with the bushes.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. All right, so this is an exemption request, so we need to vote on it. So I think you are good to go, Mr. DeWolf.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for being patient with us tonight.
Oh, no problem. Have a great day, you everybody.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay.
Don't know if anyone else is in the audience for any more of the public forum.
Do we have, Hodges, 18 Falcon Ridge Drive?
Yep, I'm here.
Yep.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Hodges.
Good evening.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were waiting.
No, that's okay.
Didn't mean to skip over you there.
No worries.
All right, so this was another tree removal project, as I recollect.
Yep. So pictured here are A, B, and C. It's basically 3 really tall pine trees that we have in the front yard. One was, so the one you can see, sorry, if you go back to that last picture real quick. It started with the tree to the right that doesn't, or with the single tag right there. You can see it's rotting at the bottom. And that was the one where we really wanted to get checked out. So the tree, we actually used stumpies in this case, and they came, checked that out, and then raised concerns with the 3 other trees that are in the front as well. One of them splits halfway up, and we've had 2 of those trees in our yard that are structured like that. Split, yeah, right there, you'll see it splits in half. We have had 2 trees, similar shape, snap in the last 2 years, one actually last week. in close proximity to the house. And these are directly in front of the house. So little paranoid. One of the trees, it's A or B in that sketch. So A is actually that tree behind in that picture you were just looking at. Stumpy's had mentioned the roots are growing up over the rock. So they were a little concerned about the anchor point in the ground. There's a better picture, yeah, right there. So it's already leaning and the root is going directly over that rock. So he mentioned a concern with that. So one, it was basically the rotting, which we had already received approval for. One, it was the concern about the split and the weakening towards the top of the tree. One was the root system on this. And then the last one was just proximity to the house because it's the closest. This is the one that's closest to the house, well within reach. And I guess a big aspect of it, the rotting, we're definitely going to get taken care of. But where we've had 2 snap in the last year, it's a little stressful anytime we get the winds going. So just worried about this being so close to the house.
So that one right there that we're looking at looks like it's in lawn area or right on the edge of the lawn?
Yeah, it's actually mulch under there, but right off the edge of a lawn area, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
yeah, okay. All right. I mean, that's on the other 2 are right on the edge of the
yeah, that's the one that's
buffer zone there. So I think once those are removed, the other trees will benefit from the additional sun and grow out. So I think that's fine with me. Any comments or questions from other commission members?
Yeah, that's the one that fell last week, actually, right by the driveway.
Okay. So no comments or questions? All right, I think we're all set on this one as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Through the
You're
chair.
welcome. Yes, Don.
I was just in line with what the commission's done in the past, like you did with Eric. There's like one live tree, and obviously these pines are so tall and problematic, but it is kind of like a vegetated area. Didn't know if you wanted to see if they'd be interested in planting like a small tree like a dogwood or a some shrubs just to take up for the mitigation for the, because it looks like 2 of the trees are bad. Well, one was live.
Yeah, would you be amenable to that, Mr.
Sure.
Hodges?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely planning on putting something there. So if there's recommendations about what would be best, definitely open to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send you some plant lists, to help you figure out, what might be amenable to you in that area.
Sure. Yeah, please do. The plan was to try to just get rid of the problematic trees and then figure out what we're going to do for landscaping. So happy to.
Yeah, we wouldn't be recommending to then go ahead and plant more white pines there. No.
Yeah.
No,
As long as I can see
it's
it peacefully.
It's going to be a lot shorter.
I'll plant anything as long as it's not going to crash into
Exactly.
the roof.
Exactly.
How about willow trees? How would that work? Yeah.
I don't know about that. No, I wouldn't recommend that either.
I'm kidding. Nobody should ever plant.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hodges.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Well, except dappled willows. Those are nice.
All right.
So can I ask a question? I don't see these. I don't see DeWolf or Hodges on the revised agenda. Did I miss something?
I've got them on the.
It's on the public session.
Oh, public forum? Okay, great.
Yeah, the public forum. Yeah.
All right, got it.
Okay, Grasshopper Energy, proposed buffer zone cutting, clearing for access to non-jurisdictional areas.
I don't know if there's anyone.
Do we have anyone? I thought I saw Mr.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. This is Ahmed
Hafez is
Hafez. Yeah, this is Ahmed Hafez from Grasshopper, and they also have Chris King from Atlantic and Mitch Maslenka from Goddard and Nick Fasendola from LDG.
Okay, good evening, guys.
Good evening. Thank you, Ahmed. This is Chris King with Atlantic Design. And we have before you this evening, we appreciate your time. Before you this evening, we have 2 specific requests. So I'd like to kind of treat each of them individually because I think they truly are independent of one another. I think, the issue most pressing to us as a project team is the ability to move forward with the site clearing. I know we apologize again for the miscommunication at the last hearing. As a result of the last hearing, we've gone out and flagged the trees to be removed. I was not on site and I'm not privy to the specifics, but can summarize them and certainly turn it over to Matt Burrell with Lucas or Nick Passandola with Level Design Group, who are both present on site, but they reviewed the crossing. I believe they came to an agreement as far as what to be removed and the route that was actually be used to traverse to access the upland, allowing us to proceed with the tree clearing operations, which, again, allow us to basically create the footprint that was approved by the commission back when the order was issued. And that footprint, field change aside, that footprint will be utilized one way or the other. So we understand we do have a field change request covering, some design changes, if you will. But I'd like to, somewhat treat that separate and hopefully address the clearing, because that's of the utmost importance to us, again, as a project team, is the ability to kind of get going with the weather being conducive and start tree clearing activities. So with that, I think it's best appropriate to turn it over to either Mr. Passandola or to review from the applicant standpoint what transpired on site, the agreements, hopefully Mr. Varel to verify it, and then any questions the commission may have regarding this specific request, if you will.
Okay, why don't we turn it over to Matt on the from the commission standpoint, as our consultant, and you can kind of give us an overview as to where things are, and then Mr. Fassandola can provide comment after Matt's done.
Sure.
Matt, yep.
So we met back out on the site yesterday morning and walked basically sort of three areas under review for clearing within buffer zone. And we walked through all three, and all the trees have been marked as was clarified at the last meeting. And Nick Fassandola and I kind of went through them and looked at each area. And we also had, at our request, we had requested that the actual tree clearing representatives of the actual tree clearing company be out there as well, so that they could speak to, knowing exactly how big their equipment was, what turning radius, things like that, because they are proposing to use some of the existing cart paths out there. And, the discussion was really, what is the minimum required to get the equipment through these areas to access the non-jurisdictional areas? Sort of what's the bare minimum? So we went through all that. And then towards the end of the meeting, the proponents team kind of huddled up a little bit, and we're actually able to come up with a solution that actually reduced one of the clearing areas fairly. I think it basically eliminated it, and it was originally going to be quite a few trees, so I thought that was good. So I think I'll turn it over to Nick, and he can go into the specifics and sort of talk to each area, how many trees, and sort of why those areas are needed, or for the one that was avoided, what's going to be done to avoid that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Matt.
All right, Matt, thanks for the quick introduction. So for the record, Nick Fassandola, Level Design Group. As Matt stated, we met on site yesterday, and I'll kind of just start with the simple areas. So if the plan you're looking at, the circle in the center of the plan, that is right there at the existing cart path that was going through the wetland area. So we're requesting to do some minor clearing in there. It's 2 trees over 12 inches, which need to be removed. There's one right where the cursor is right now. And the second tree is located where the red hatch starts, in that general location, to provide a turning radius to turn into upland area. So there's 2 trees required for that crossing. and that will get us from the, we'll call it the easterly portion of the site through that little pinch point where the buffer zone, there's buffer zone on either side of that area. That will get us to the westerly portion of that crossing. As we continue west, where Don has the cursor now, this area has, we counted up 16 trees in this area. So there are 2 trees in excess of 12-inch diameter, 1 tree 12 to 8-inch diameter in this area. And the remainder of the trees were less than 8, with a majority of them being 3-inch diameter trees. And on the plan, I noted, one of the groupings is a cluster of 4 trees, a quad. A cluster of 3 trees is a triple. We counted those each individually as separate trees, but they're all sprouting from one area. So it's not a variety of 13 separate trees populating that area. Majority of those trees are located in clusters, as you can see as noted on the plan. So that's what's proposed to get across the easement area. It's essentially clearing on the left and the right side of that easement area, because the transmission easement it's wide open. It's brush cut by the utility company, so it's a little bit of clearing to construct the driveway in the location as approved by the current permits. And as we move to the southerly portion of the plan there, right there. So our initial proposal was to construct the driveway as approved. We noticed that, when I flagged the trees and we counted them all with Matt, we're going to have to clear 15 trees. And in our discussion with the tree clearing contractor, he kind of brought up, well, why can't we just stay out of that zone and utilize the existing cart path and just build a small temporary drive to get us to the area where we're going to cross the gas easement? And there's a little bit extra cost associated with that to build the temporary driveway that's outside the 100-foot buffer zone as shown here. But he stated that they're going to have to go back there and clear other trees that weren't going to be cleared as part of this section of work. So for him, he said, just stay out of that zone, and avoid cutting those trees, and they'll be able to get their equipment in and construct a driveway in the location as shown outside of the buffer zone. We would still need to traverse through buffer zone area along the existing cart path. So, there'd be equipment coming in through that existing cart path from Cedar Street. But, as proposed today, we won't be cutting any trees within the 100-foot buffer zone. It would just be, going across that cart path, and then a narrow driveway will be constructed in a temporary fashion outside of the 100-foot buffer zone.
Okay, and for that third area, that's to access upland as well? Just
correct, to get across the gas easement and get into, there's a section of the array right where Don's cursor is, that's kind of encircled in that odd shaped polygon right there, Don, that you're leaning on. So yeah, that's all upland in there. That's going to be, it's approved to be cleared as as part of the current project.
Okay.
Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so I agree with everything that Nick said. I'll just add that we had requested that they add additional erosion controls through basically that access road near the area closest to Cedar Street. And that has all been installed, and I inspected that yesterday, and that all looked good. So I think everything's protected that needs to be. We did discuss in the area where they need to cross the easement that I guess was sort of the middle one that was discussed. Those erosion controls still need to be put in. So we discussed, they need to basically build their access across the easement so they can get the equipment in. They can then put the erosion controls in, and then they would do the clearing. And there's a note on the plan that reflects that, just to clarify, because that's really the only area where erosion controls are not yet installed and need to be.
Okay. All right. And then once you're into the upland area, is the buffer zone clearly identified so that your contractor will not be clearing any trees, within the buffer zone in those upland areas?
So the 100-foot buffer zone has been flagged on site by our land surveyor, about flagging about every 50 to 75 feet, depending on where he found a tree to hang flagging appropriately. So the area is clearly marked. I walked it with the tree clearing contractor. We kind of went through all the areas. I kind of explained to him how the buffer zone is kind of flowing, because it's not a straight line, so it's a little bit difficult. And I said to him, if you're not sure about the tree, leave it.
Okay.
'Cause they're gonna have to go back there and cut additional trees anyways. So, if one or two trees are left, that's borderline. I said, just leave any tree that you have a question about. You're gonna have to go back in and clean it up anyways. Once we get our building permit, we have full permission to do all the clearing. So that's how I explained it to them. They seemed like a very good tree clearing company, and we're on board with everything that was discussed. So it's all been gone over, and we're confident these guys can get in there and do this work appropriately.
Okay, great. And the last question is, what's the status of the building permit?
I'll let Chris King speak to that. I believe they're still, they have a meeting with the planning board for the modification of the special permit coming up next week. So they're hoping to wrap that up, I would say, but I'll let Chris speak to that.
Sure, thanks, Nick. So we're currently, as noted, we're currently awaiting approval through the planning board to modify not only the special permit, but the stormwater permit. I believe the commission has been copied on the correspondence. As you know, Beta Group and Phil Paradis has reviewed the plans already, not only from the bylaw and conformance with the special permit regulations, but also with stormwater. And has agreed that the changes are minor and that the stormwater design is adequate to account for the design. They did add one comment regarding the establishment of the seed mix beneath the panels. We've since resubmitted pictures. This is a new issue as a permitting engineer for me, at least, dealing with a new question. I'm certainly not a seed expert, so I rely on our technical expertise that's available to us, as part of our project team and other resources. A number of which, would be, first and foremost, the vendor who has seed mixes specifically designed for the shade mix, which are drought tolerant and shade tolerant varieties. And, that's also part of a program, if you're familiar with it, the pollinator certification that is promulgated by the DOER, which is basically overseen by the Clean Energy Collective, which is a group of, again, experts in the vegetation side of things. And they specifically design a program that includes specifying specific seed mixes that are custom to each site, depending on sun and shade conditions, as well as soil conditions. And it even goes so far as to specify certain types of, if landscape screening is required, they specify certain types so that a site can attain a certain certification. And, we're going, for the higher of the certification throughout the spectrum that they offer. So, all of the, due to the fact that the panels are moved outside of the 100-foot, again, that is, the areas underneath the panels, if you will, subject to, that comment are, outside of the commission's jurisdiction. But again, we're working to, first and foremost, provide evidence that, the seed growth beneath the panels is feasible. It's actually thought about, and, specific provisions are made within a program that's well established well practiced throughout the state and many other states as well. And so, you know, it was brought to our attention. Again, we've submitted photographs of existing sites that do have this type of vegetation underneath very low laying panels. You know, not every picture is the perfect angle or has the exact same measurements, but we think it's certainly representative of what's feasible based on the technology and, you know, the variety of seed mixes available. With me this evening, I also have Mitch with Goddard Consultant, who's prepared a land management plan, again, as part of the review with Beta. As engineers, you always hear the what ifs. So we've come up with a contingency plan and incorporated as part of the land management plan that was recently submitted to the commission that can be memorialized, that basically takes into account and outlines those measures to be taken in the event that growth does not establish beneath the panels to prevent soil erosion and basically create a stabilized site, which is also going to be obligatory on the applicant as part of the certificate of occupancy. When we're requesting that the town sign off on it, it needs to be, you know, stabilized, if you will. And one of the thresholds is the greater than 75% ground cover, or stabilization. So we're, you know, certainly obligated to provide that well before any of the land management provisions take place or the request for certificate of compliance with you folks, as well as the NIPIDIS permit is another mechanism that's in place, again, that requires a certain level of stabilization. And so we've outlined the measures that would be implemented if the case arises, and we've even taken a look at some worst case drainage scenarios with the Beta group. We're working to provide them with additional information with actual calculations demonstrating such, but the preliminary findings are that the structures, you know, as designed are certainly adequate for the implementation of the contingency plan, which considers, you know, less than 50% ground cover underneath and between the panels, and the basins are still adequately sized, don't overtop, have a foot of freeboard. And there are certain things that aren't being considered as part of the model, such as infiltration trenches located throughout the site that could be considered as part of the model, which will bring it in compliance with stormwater policy. So I know that's a long, drawn-out, long-winded explanation, but you know, we've been asked the what ifs. You know, we've done our best to design for the hypothetical with the unknown parameters, working to provide that to Beta Group, who is reviewing the stormwater. And we're, you know, asking the commission respectfully to allow that review process to take place and, you know, really focus the field change on the request before the commission. As far as the minor changes, I think that, you know, Beta has backed up as part of their review. So I know I've kind of spoken a little bit about the field change up front, but I think it's the elephant in the room. But again, you know, we're asking for, you know, the footprint is the footprint. So regardless of whichever direction the field change request takes, you know, we're still, you know, looking to proceed with the tree clearing as discussed and agreed, I believe, between Mr. Varel and the applicant's team.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. King. Okay, so let's address the crossing first. I think, you know, and thank you. We appreciate you going back out into the field and, you know, identifying the trees that were going to be removed, you know, meeting with the tree clearing contractor and with Mr. Varel. So, you know, we appreciate that effort. And I'm okay with the 3 crossings. You know, I think that is okay from my standpoint, but let me open up to the other commission members for their comments and questions.
Hey Jeff, this is Melissa. I agree. It seems like the homework has been done, and I'm feeling more comfortable with it at this point in time.
Okay, great. Thank you, Melissa. Any other comments from commission members? Any other comments or questions from members of the public? Okay, so hold on a second. I have someone's hand raised. Mr. Shambo, go ahead. If you have a question.
Yeah, this is Tom Shambo. I just want to make sure I understand what you're asking here. You're okay with the tree cutting. We're not talking about the racking system and the seeding and erosion control and stuff. Is that correct?
That's correct. So what we're talking about right now is just the access, which is the buffer zone and resource area crossing and tree removal in those crossing areas to get to the upland. So it's not the racking system.
Okay, great. I have no objection. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is a project change request. If I can get a motion to approve the project change as discussed.
Through the chair?
Yes, Don, go ahead.
Yeah, I think everything we were talking about was the proposed buffer zone cutting and clearing access. It wasn't the project change request. I think we were dealing with number 3.
Propose, okay. All right, I thought they were both project change requests. Okay, so Don, this is just a,
They
Number
wanted number 3 dealt with right now. And the project change request is still getting reviewed by Beta.
yeah. So I guess, is this an exemption request? Is that how this is?
Well, I don't know how to word it. Basically it was proposed buffer zone cutting for access to non-jurisdictional areas, So, and it seems like everyone's, amenable to it. So I don't think it really needs a vote per se, if you guys are amenable with it.
Okay, all right, fair enough then.
Through the chair,
Yes, Ed.
this is Ed. This is still contingent upon the planning board approval, so this does not happen until they get their other permits.
No, that's incorrect.
Yeah, Ed, they're just trying to work outside the commission's jurisdiction with some tree clearing. They're not gonna do any construction of the project.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just to get access to the upland areas outside of our jurisdiction for tree clearing.
And excuse me, this is Chris again with Atlantic. If I may, if the commission was looking for a way to say memorialize it, I think this all somewhat came up when we wanted to start land clearing activities, and it was brought to our attention that one of the conditions of approval required us to get the building permit prior to the start of construction. And so, I guess formally we'd be asking, to waive that particular condition that would allow us to start construction, specifically the land clearing activities under the, agreement or, stipulations that were discussed and agreed upon, during the site visit between Mr. Burrell and Mr. Fasandola. But if the commission sees fit as to just allowing us to proceed, because again, we don't need a building permit to actually do the work we're looking to start on. And, as long as it's being done, and again, in accordance with that agreement, the applicant is certainly amenable to that route as well.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And, to Don's point, I think we don't need to vote on it. So I think, from that standpoint, you guys are all set in terms of the buffer zone, cutting and clearing as described in our discussion tonight that provides access to the, commission non-jurisdictional areas. Okay.
Great, thank you. I really appreciate your time on that particular item.
You're welcome, Mr. Fasandola. Okay. Did someone else have a comment? Sorry. Okay, so with regard to the project change request,
I just listed that as in case you guys wanted to talk about it.
right, so just, we're still waiting on Beta's review, Don.
I thought so. Yeah, I thought there was more. I thought this got tabled, but since they were coming in for this, I was just like, I'll just cover all bases because I listed this afternoon. So I'm like, well, I didn't want to leave the applicant short. So I'm like, I'll just list both of them. And if they wanted to touch base to give you guys an update on how things are going, I was like, yeah, let me just list it,
Okay, so why don't we get an update then? Mr. Havez or Mr. Fassendorf?
Sure.
Yep.
This is Chris King again with Atlantic
Yes,
Design.
Mr. King, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
So you gave us a little bit of an
so-
update.
Yeah, and I spoke a little bit to it. I guess if echoing what I just heard, correct me if I'm wrong, but again, we're continuing to resolve that with Beta, and so if the commission would be satisfied with a letter from Beta, basically, stating that they're either happy with the evidence we've provided or that the contingency plan and then any additional documentation associated with that, in particular, the impacts or lack thereof to the existing stormwater system. If Beta is going to produce something like that, which is our ultimate goal, as the commission, satisfied, and I
Yes.
think that aside, again, and I can certainly let Mitch Maslenka from Goddard speak a little bit more to it. But we've added, the contingency plan. But again, as I stated earlier, the areas that we're talking about are, almost in their entirety located outside of the 100-foot buffer. And so, we would ask that the, commission, move forward on the field change request, notwithstanding Beta's review, understanding that, that is, they are, completing the review and the information's forthcoming, but as far as, the items within the commission's jurisdiction and, as they relate to, the nature of a request for a field change, we feel like, we've provided the information that's required. I didn't know if Mitch, if there was anything else, from a jurisdictional standpoint you had to add. But, that's, I guess our standpoint as far as the ability to make a decision on the field change request, without Beta's letter. And, it could be a condition of approval that you're in receipt of that. But I don't, and as important, I'd like to confirm it that there are no other, underlying issues that, our intent is to, wrap things up, as soon as possible. So if there is any other information or any other issue, we would just like it to be, known now, so we're able to, respond accordingly. I'll leave it at that.
Yep, and I mean, I think all the issues are on the table now from our standpoint, unless there's something else that Beta raises as part of their review. But I mean, my sense is, we haven't, I understand your point, right? I think it seems to me that, you've met the requirements for the project change request. It is outside our jurisdiction, but, the commission is still, we share responsibility for stormwater issues with the planning board. So we need to make sure those are addressed properly. My sense is that, I think we need to, just get the blessing from Beta that, they are in agreement with the changes. That's my sense, but let me open it up first to my vice chairs, Melissa and Carrie, and also to the other commission members for their comment.
I agree with that, Jeff. I mean, just let it get fully vetted through the peer review. I don't have any other additional issues to raise other than what's already on the table.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Havez.
Yeah, just wanted to confirm what Chris has just said, that the change request or what's subject to the commission's jurisdiction has been vetted by Beta and has been passed. They requested one extra change and we conformed to that. So all the changes that is before you for the change of the layout or the approved permit is has been vetted by Beta already and responded to positively.
I would just disagree that stormwater is within our purview because it does go to the wetlands, and I think my primary concern would be the erosion issues, ground cover issues related to stormwater.
Hold on a second. I'm just pulling up the Beta review.
Through the chair,
Yes, Don.
at the, I think it was the last meeting where we talked about this, some of the members made concern because the commission, where we're talking jurisdiction, but if something is going to occur outside your jurisdiction that may have negative impacts on your jurisdiction, that comes under your purview. And
Right,
some of the commission members were like, well, what's going to happen under these panels? Are we going to get stabilization or are we going to have erosion? You know, so that's what the whole discussion about having the light regime, blah, blah, blah. So that hadn't got finalized with Beta. So everyone said, well, let's get that finalized so we know what's going to happen underneath the panel. So we're assured we're going to have stabilization. So we're not going to have impacts on our jurisdiction.
I see. Okay.
With all due respect, this is Chris from Atlantic again, but I think that I don't disagree with what Don just said. However, I think that it should be a caveat added to it that that's more in a reactionary sense, if you will, where if there's a project that's outside of your jurisdiction that's deemed to have impacts on your resource areas, then I think it's well within the commission's right to go ahead and make that owner or entity, if you will, take corrective measures so you're not further causing detriment to the resource area. But if you were to use that broad brush interpretation for all new projects, you're telling me that any project that has stormwater associated, whether it's within 100 feet or not of a wetland, is within the commission's jurisdiction. I just think that's a huge precedent to set, and I just don't think that we agree that
Let me just interrupt you there. We prefer not to be reactionary and be proactive in these types of situations. We've had several projects in town, in recent years, where, stormwater, we've given, and this goes to my point with, the other portion of the project that we just approved with the, buffer zone clearing. We've given the developers the benefit of the doubt, and allowed, work to be done. And then, we find ourselves in a reactionary mode, where we're dealing with, runoff, and sediment entering into resource areas. And it's just, it turns out to be a major headache for the commission. It turns out to be a major headache for abutters. It turns out to be a major headache for the applicant because, you end up having to do mitigation and, there are fines associated with it. So, I understand your perspective, but, I think we want to err on the side of being, being cautious and preventing problems and being proactive rather than reactive. And, I understand it from your perspective. But, I guess, we approve the access to the upland areas. So over the next couple of weeks, you guys can get going with that portion of the project. And I think, we should have feedback from Beta before our next meeting, which is the 23rd, Don, is that correct? I don't have the agenda up. I'm in the project file right now. So, my preference is, let's just wait until we get Beta's comments back. But let me, just open it up to feedback from the other commission members.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mitch Maslanka. Could I speak to that as well?
Briefly, I mean, I think. we
Yeah,
made
I'll
up-
keep it.
Yep, go ahead.
So I made the solar array footprint management plan. And so what I did was oh, thanks for bringing that up. So I made this plan and mimicked the land management plan, which dealt with the jurisdictional areas that you guys reviewed. So this plan basically mimics that, where we're putting in the same seed mix or a different seed mix to match the site conditions, low shade and drought-like conditions. So once I made this plan, at the very end, I added the contingency plan, which goes over if the seed mix doesn't take to prevent erosion, what we'll do is we'll find the spots that don't take and we'll add gravel to those areas so that we prevent any erosion from happening. And like Chris said, regardless if it's the seed mix and vegetation versus the gravel, the infiltration basins will still be able to handle all the stormwater appropriately. So what I'm thinking here is, since this plan nearly mimics the land management plan that you guys have already approved for your jurisdiction, I'd see it reasonable for you to also approve this as well, just with a seed mix that is more well suited for the specific area and also takes into consideration a backup plan for appropriate erosion control. So that's all I have to say on that.
So you have the seed mix and then you have a contingency plan.
Yep.
Okay. Matt, what's your opinion on this? Do you think that covers us?
I haven't had a chance to read through this document in any depth, so I can't really speak to it. I guess the question would be is if this is going to be a document that's going to be adopted as part of the order of conditions, then I think we definitely, I think it would be wise to vet it a little bit more closely. And but if it's just going to be, approved by the, not just, but if it's going to be approved by the planning board and that becomes part of their decision, and you're comfortable with that, then it's obviously the planning board and Beta doing their review to vet it out to make sure that it's appropriate. So I don't know. I think that's maybe the best answer I can give you without really having reviewed it.
Okay.
Yeah, through the chair, it came in on Monday in my email. I wasn't available on Monday, so I just downloaded this today. And I don't think Matt's even aware of it,
Okay. All right. All right, guys.
This is Chris with Atlantic again. And, our intent, speaking a little bit to what Matt just said, our intent was really to have the planning board incorporated as part of its decision, because it really, is more geared towards, again, it's outside of the commission's jurisdiction. So we thought it was a little more appropriate in the planning board's hands. That's why we didn't provide it sooner to you folks. It did just come in Monday. But again, the intent is that, the comment came up through the planning board's review. And just for continuity's sake, we were envisioning having it, incorporated as part of the planning board's, hopefully forthcoming decision. So
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, I think you heard it from me, you heard it from Melissa and from our consultant that, this just needs to be vetted a little bit more. Through our consultant, with a little bit more detail. So, I think we just need to, wait until the next meeting until we get Beta's review and their approval on what is being proposed. The good news is, you have the crossing and the access So you can go in and start doing the tree clearing. This is just one piece of the project that, we just have to put off for another couple of weeks to get the commission's approval on it. So does that make sense with?
Sure. And again, yeah, absolutely. And again, we appreciate the commission's time this evening. I think our orders are pretty clear. Let us work to resolve anything with Beta, hopefully get you a clean letter as soon as possible. We just ask that if Mr. Varela has any comments on, any information or anything, any additional information or any clarification we can provide, just reach out directly and we're more than happy to get him anything he needs. So.
Yeah, it seems to me, gentlemen, that you have the bases covered here, but, again, I think Matt just needs to take some time to take a look at the contingency plan here, and, we just gotta get Beta's, blessing on the stormwater piece of it. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Okay. Norton 13 Wild Road. Request to allow koi pond to remain in a no disturbance area.
Yeah, getting to that. I just got the as-built plan and the request electronically this afternoon. I think Matt had a chance to get a hard copy, but with the snow cover, he hasn't done an inspection for the COC request. But now that we have a copy of the as-built plan, I'm grabbing it now. What came up is a point discussion. I'm going to grab the order too.
Through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
While Don's bringing that up, as Don said, I've done a review of the paperwork of the certificate of compliance application, and it looked pretty fine with the exception that this koi pond was built inside of the area that was, the PIB area. And I haven't been out to the site. This is quite old, so I presume the site is fully stable and erosion controls are all gone and everything. But just due to the snow, I haven't had a chance to go out there. So that's sort of where it stands from my perspective.
All right, why don't we just table this then for now? I mean, my initial sense is the koi pond is kind of an extension of, it's not technically a wetland resource area, but, you get the frogs and, the fish and dragonflies and things like that, tend to take to the koi pond. I have one in my backyard, so, I can kind of attest to that. Turns into like a little habitat in and of itself. So I guess we can wait until Matt gets a chance to take a look at it. So does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah, just wanted to, the applicant was, the applicant no longer owns the property, and, the new owner's, looking to see if everything's going to get closed out. So he had just sent an email, and he was hoping to be able to leave the koi pond if possible. So in essence, he'd be looking for like an exemption to the order of condition that talks about, the area won't be cleared, yada, yada. The area between, and that's what I was thinking. The commission might, take into consideration. I mean, it's not a tennis court or, something like that. It's just a, water feature, and it might be something you guys might be amenable to, but I think you'd probably want us to at least get some pictures too, to give you a sense of, what you're looking at.
Yeah. So Pat and Michelle Norton are selling the property?
They've already sold it, and I think,
really?
Yeah. So this is a contingency that they no longer own it. And I did get a request from the current property owner asking the status. And I said, yeah, they've submitted a certificate of compliance application, and then the commission's going to start reviewing it. But I had no electronics to show you on an online meeting, and I hadn't seen it either. It was all paper, so we just got the electronics today. So I thought I'd at least, get this on your radar screen. And then now when the snow's gone, Matt could get out and, get a look-see at the site, just so.
Okay. Yeah, I
It's
know.
not holding up a sale or anything.
What's that,
No.
Melissa?
It's not holding up a house sale.
No, it's probably, I don't know if there's any money held back until the COC. It might be something like that, but, you know, they were just asking, how can we get this moving along? So.
Yeah, I
said,
didn't
"All right, well."
realize, I knew the Nortons from Cub Scouts. I didn't realize that that they had moved. Anyways, that's an aside, but, okay.
All right.
All right, I think that's it
Yep.
tonight.
Just what, I'm still, and I was sort of bringing this up. I know, this language here was brought over by Rebecca, and I'm just, I think I should be writing by vote on not tonight's meeting, but the previous meeting. And I should be saying by vote on February 23rd, not approving this order or approving this order. Basically, I don't know if I need to get you guys to vote that I'm signing it on your behalf.
No, I don't think so, Don, because.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, normally it's just like, as long as you guys are okay with us issuing it, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that's the case, because
yeah, this was the blanket language you gave me, but then obviously I think that was for like approvals, you know? So
I think it's applies to both, though.
Yeah.
But I'm not an attorney.
No. And I'll probably just run this by Rebecca before we issue, you know. I'll show the final wording here, if she's fine with it. But I mean, you guys are, you know, as long as I know that you guys are okay with me signing this on your behalf and issuing the denial as discussed at tonight's meeting, I'll figure out if I should be using this date, March 9th, or the 23rd vote that you guys took, you know, that didn't pass.
Yeah.
Well, the vote didn't pass on the 23rd. Order of conditions is approved tonight. So that's a correct statement that's in there, but you need to add the statement about when the vote was taken, right? The vote on the approval or denial.
Yeah, but you guys didn't take a vote tonight. That's what I'm asking.
Well, we voted on the 9th. We're not the 9th.
Yeah, but we voted. Didn't we
No,
vote?
I'm sorry. Yeah, today's the 9th.
We voted. We voted back on
23rd.
Yeah.
But tonight we just reviewed the order.
Right.
Did we need to vote on that? And do we need, by the way, Jeff, do you need a motion to give, to confirm that Don has the authority to do this?
No, we already did that.
We already did that, and it's all on record.
Yeah, so Don, here's the language in what we voted on. So the motion was that the Hopkinton Conservation Commission authorize Commission Administrator Don McAdam to physically sign on behalf of the commission, when so directed by vote of the commission, documents issued by the commission under the Wetlands Protection Act or the Hopkinton Protection Bylaw, including but not limited to orders of petitions and certificates of compliance. So I think we're covered.
Yeah, because you took the vote at the last meeting, so I should be putting that date in. I should be putting in the 23rd and signing.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm glad we talked about this, though, because and we have your replacement come in, right?
You're going to have to do that all over again.
We're going to have to do it again.
Because it doesn't, I asked her that back in the day. I'm like, would this just be for the conservation administrator, or is this for me personally? And she goes, it's for you personally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so we're going to have to, when our new administrator comes in, we're going to have to make this motion again.
Yeah. And then if there's a little gap between.
You guys are going to have to remind me of that.
Then it has to get recorded at the registry. So there might be a little, I don't know what kind of a delay there would be, but remember when I used to I gave you guys all white cards so you could come in and give me a John Hancock, on the signature pages down in the basement.
So we might have to do that for a couple meetings.
Until we can get back in live meetings where we can just pass the paper around to you guys, sucks.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Can we
for
take up
another-
a vote
Yeah.
before we have the other conservation administrator, just approving conservation administrator and not by name? So that it's in place before they start.
That's why I asked her before, and she goes, I go, can't we just have it the position? She goes, no, it has to be a person.
All right, never mind.
Yeah, it's
Well,
yeah. I tried to get you know.
Three nice things like
We approved you, you as Don, but
Yeah.
as the conservation administrator. I mean, clearly you can't go, resign and then go do stuff.
No, there's no loophole here. No, Jim, you're not.
It is for the administrator. It's just that it's you now.
Well, I mean, is there any reason why we couldn't have Anna do it? Hey, we could have Anna sign for us.
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
But-
that might be
but-
faster.
If it's for you, Don, then that means we have to vote to rescind that authority that we gave you. And that would be ridiculous.
No, we don't have, no, once he leaves, then.
Yeah, once
it's
I'm
just null
gone.
and void, and we have
No,
to
I
re,
understand that. I know. But I'm just saying, it's for you, administrator. Agent.
Jeez, maybe we should have done Anna from the get-go.
No.
well,
We didn't know.
hindsight's
Well,
20/20,
Don might have
right?
known. We didn't know.
Well, I was running that stuff by her, and she was like, "What are you talking?" But it wasn't a done deal. This was all back like in October, when we did it. So I was like, "Well, I don't know," And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know."
Maybe
In denial.
We'll just have to, we'll have to make the motion again for either Anna or the new CA.
Yeah.
And then have to re-record it, and there'll probably be a couple meetings where we'll have to physically go in and sign the documents, so. All right.
Hopefully not, but yeah.
Hopefully not, but anyways, okay.
All right.
All right, anything else? Are we good for
I
tonight?
think we're good.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second, Janine.
All right, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
All right.
and Jeff is an aye. All right, everyone, thank you very much.
All right. See y'all.
Have a
Be
good
well.
evening.